So I will mute myself. Let's give everybody 1 more minute and we can start. And I will head on the back office in the next minutes. Thank you. We can start, so you know.
Good morning and good afternoon, everybody, to the speakers, to the panelists, to the audience. I would like to welcome you to this side event of the UN Water Conference 2023. So on top, let me thank the United Nations for this opportunity to have the opportunity of preparing, developing, organizing this event. Which is organized by Water Europe in collaboration with Deltares and De Nora. The side event is on water health, going beyond the WASH approach. Let me introduce myself. I'm Andrea Rubini. I'm the Director of Operations of Water Europe. Water Europe is the recognized voice of water, of the water sector in Europe. And we cover the full value chain of the water domain. And we support water at any level for its development and the recognition of its true value. In fact, we advocate for recognizing the value of water. This, I mean, to achieve a water smart society in a situation that's, well, see water in a deep crisis. When we speak about climate change, a climate crisis is actually also a water crisis. And this has an impact on the health of billions of people, an impact on the stability of societies, or our societies, as an impact on our economies, an impact on the planet. Why we know and we see that water is a cross-cutting issue across, all our domains and the sectors of our societies and economies, but at the same time, it's a global challenge that requires to be solved at local level. But now what we need is really, to work for a systemic approach, and we need to go maybe beyond the silos that have been affecting maybe the development of the water sector per years. So here we are today, speaking about water and health, and there's a question mark at the end of the sentence. Can we go beyond the WASH approach? So welcome to the speakers, welcome to all of the participants to this event. And I am really pleased to pass the floor to the first keynote speaker of the event, which is Mr. Marco Romiti, who is the first counselor of the permanent mission of Italy to the United Nations. Mr. Romiti, please take the floor.
Thank you very much for the floor. I hope let me know if there are problems. I am particularly honored to open this important side event organized by Water Europe, Deltares, and De Nora. This is a great example of meaningful participation by stakeholders from the private sector, academia, and scientific community. The event focuses on some crucial issues, the access to water and sanitation as part of our societal responsibility, focus on the drinking water regulation in Europe towards a water smart society. This is linked to the main subject of Interactive Dialogue 1 of the conference, which we could follow yesterday. And this is an extraordinary moment, I would say, with the UN 2023 Water Conference taking place after more than 40 years since the conference held in Mar del Plata in 1977. SDG 6 on water is linked to all areas of sustainable development, and it is key for the other SDGs, many other SDG, and the social development and economic prosperity of the world. Yet, unfortunately, SDG 6 and other water-related goals remain alarmingly off track. We all know that water plays a crucial role in all ongoing challenges, from climate change to food security, poverty, conflicts, health, and gender inequality, to give but a few examples. By advancing SDG 6, we know we can build a more sustainable world and support the implementation of Agenda 2030. From the 22nd, yesterday, up to the 24th of March.
Sorry, apologize, Marco, for the interruption. You have, I think, the live stream or something in parallel opened, and we cannot hear you very well.
Okay. Is it now better?
Yes, thank you so much.
Okay,
thank you.
sorry.
Apologize also for interrupting you.
Yeah, from from yesterday up to the 24th March, we have this important conference also to, assess the halfway mark of the Water Action Decade, 2018-2028. And this event is bringing together member states and stakeholders to address the various aspects of this essential element of life. There are only 7 years left before 2030 to reach the Sustainable Development Goal 6 to ensure safe drinking water and sanitation for all. And today's side event will give its contribution by dealing with water for health, access to wash, including the human rights to safe drinking water and sanitation. The discussion will take into account the latest European drinking water legislation in force since last January. This law aims at guaranteeing access to drinking water and information on its quality to citizens. This leads to questions on the opportuneness to recognize a human right to safe drinking water and sanitation. Thanks to the distinguished panelists, I'm sure we will better reflect on these crucial subjects and on how digitalization and the exploitation of state-of-the-art technology can make quality control and monitoring easier. Italy is very sensitive and pays careful attention to these issues. The commitment of the Italian development cooperation in the sector of sanitation and healthcare through the improvement of water supply infrastructure is especially directed towards the most vulnerable countries. WASH represents one of the main sectors of intervention of the Italian Agency for Development Cooperation, being aware that taking actions to ensure safe drinking water is instrumental in saving many lives. Access to safe water also contributes to reducing poverty. Thanking again the organizers of this site event for inviting me, I think I can stop here so as to leave enough time for the following speakers and for a fruitful discussion. This is all the more important since, to quote the Secretary General remarks, 1 in 4 people lives without safely managed water services or clean drinking water, and over 1.7 billion people lack basic sanitation. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Romiti. Thank you for your insights. Very much appreciated. And now I would like to pass the floor to Mr. Panagiotis Balabanis, Head of Sector, Water, European Commission, DG RTD.
Yes, good morning, good afternoon, everybody. Thank you very much for giving also this opportunity to also to attend this important side event. I don't want to stress again the importance of those days, big water conference taking place here in New York. But this is something that we expect that will also mobilize also the community, all the people to take actions. And we need also to take actions on the water pollution. If you go to the next slide, please. So I will try in my presentation very short, to highlight, the importance of water quality, water pollution. Then also explain what we're doing at the European level, in particular also from the research and innovation point of view. Just in this slide, I put in your attention, four, quite recent and important reports that they highlight also the importance of good quality of fresh water for the human well-being and health. The first report is about this, the outlook of the European Environment State Outlook was published by the European Environment Agency, which also puts a lot of emphasis on at the European level and the problems that we are still having on water quality. And this report in particular also highlights some important points related to diffuse pollution, but also to the emergent contaminants in urban settings. The other report is a report which was issued by the United Nations World Water the Development Report in 2020, which was water and climate change. And this in particular put emphasis on the increasing, pollution of water resources by, organic waste, pathogens, fertilizers, and pesticides. And again, put emphasis on the emerging pollution, which present, really an important threat for humans and our health. The report which called the impact of water quality on GDP growth, I think this is a very also important, which for the first time, and I think this is very important, highlight also the cost, try to make a first estimate of the cost of, the water pollutions to our economic activities. And while this, of course, is not very, it was very, very detailed in the study, but so the study found, for instance, that when rivers, for instance, become very heavily polluted, regions downstream see reductions in economic growth, which varies between 0.8 and 2% of the economic growth. So this is also a very, very important figure. And the most recent report, which is has a very eloquent title, Quality Unknown, the Invisible Water Crisis, also highlights another also important element that, while water quantity, too much or too little of water can be easily, attract the attention of people and also the media, the opposite happens also with water quality, which is being predominantly invisible and hard also to detect. And so it goes, largely unnoticed. If you go to the next slide, here, as you can see, and the European Union has a very broad water policy in addressing, various aspects. We have the Water Framework Directive, which tries also to provide an holistic view, but you have several other directives that they are looking about, the quality of water, the urban wastewater treatment directive and the drinking directive, the bathing directives these are important elements of pollution, of the European policy on water pollution. Next slide, please. But what is also on top of that, what becomes also very important is that now the European Green Deal, so the new policy also to help also the Europe also to become, carbon neutral and help also the transition to a sustainable also economy, highlights also water quality in particular also with several related actions. But most important, the Zero Pollution Action, which is a main key elements of policy, trying also to have an holistic framework for pollution, both on water, but air and soil at the European level. Next slide, please. So all these challenges, of course, and this is something which is important to stress, is that they need also a strong research and innovation, because research and innovation can also not only provide also the tools which can help us, to cope with the water quality, but it shows also, it can also provide also strategies, new ways, for instance, like circular application of circular concept on water resources, which can help us also to reduce and even to reduce also the production also of pollution and protect our water. And here I would like also to, as you can see, some key elements that we have recognized in our policies, in particular within Horizon Europe, which is the current framework program for research and innovation. And I take the opportunity also to stress that Horizon Europe is a research program which is open to the world. That means, international cooperation is a key element of this program. And so this, I would like also to draw the attention to organizations, research organizations, stakeholders, for outside the Europe to take also this opportunity. And there are also sometimes calls which are dedicated, also focus on a particular also region or on a particular type of countries. So you see here the need for holistic approaches to ensure, water quality in urban areas, the assessment pathways of diffuse pollution, the risk assessment and management of contaminant and major concern. This is very relevant for drinking water. So also protecting drinking water by emergent pollution, in particular also pathogen, toxins, PFAS. Also the ways also to assess, to mitigate also the climate change and their impacts on groundwater. And also, last but not least, we should not forget also the legacy pollution in sediments. And so we need also to develop also strategies and solutions for remediation. Next slide, please. This is also just to highlight, and this is also my last slide. So as I said, European Horizon Europe, in particular, the cluster 6, this is the clusters which dealing with bioeconomy, environment, agriculture, resource efficiency. This is a core cluster which addresses also the water pollution. As you can see, the Horizon Europe has what we call an impact logic. So projects are supposed also not only to produce also knowledge, but also to identify the pathways to reach the different impacts that the cluster 6 has also identified. That, as you can see here, is a dedicated impact is also to tackle also pollution. And so we have, let's say, what we call destination, which means a group of related topics addressing a particular issue. So we have a particular also destination called Clean Environment and Zero Pollution. And within this destination, as you can see in the slides, we have also recently, last year, called for 2 related projects on groundwater and drinking water. And I think one of these projects, these are also the acronyms of the projects are also stressed, indicated at the bottom of the slides. And I think we have also one of these project coordinate also to give more details in this context. And with that, I think was this my last slides. I would like also to thank you very much for your attention, and I would be happy also to pass also the floor again to Andrea.
Many thanks, Panos, for your presentation. I'd like also to add that the 7 projects that you mentioned have been gathered around the cluster, the Zero Pollution for Water cluster, which, as I said, gathers, the 7 projects, and will gather an additional project in the future related to the Zero Pollution Action for Water. And yes, and we have 2 coordinators today speaking and presenting in this event. Thank you so much once again. And now I would like to invite Christian Carboni to present. And please, Christian, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Andrea. I hope you can listen me in the right way without problem or connection. I try to share my screen. Okay. I hope you can see my screen now.
Yes, it's not in presentation.
Not in presentation mode. Okay, I try to do. Okay, now I think it works. Do it work?
It's okay. Please go.
Okay. Good morning, good evening to everyone. I'm Christian Carboni, a microbiologist, specialist in disinfection of Industria De Nora. That is an Italian company. I also the leader of a working group Water and Public Health. I want to thank the United Nations for organizing this World Water Conference, and I also thank Water Europe, Marco Romiti, Panagiotis Balavanis, Luca Lucentini, and all the other speakers who made possible the realization of these events. I also thank all of you for participating. Today, I have the honor of presenting the reflection and the fruits of the work carried out by the Water Europe Working Group Water and Public Health. Our work is summarized in a white paper will be presented on 31 of May. So let me present to you the main issues important to me that I would like to share with you. Access to a clean, healthy, and sustainable environment is a universal human right. And not only because water is vital for life and human health, but also because it is fundamental for food, energy, and economic growth. Without water, there is no life, health, and development. Solutions have to come from a global and local perspective. We live in an interdependent world where the consequences of improper water and sanitation management affect everyone. Technology companies, research institutions, and regulators cannot solve the problem by themselves. We also need a personal and collective initiative at a global and local level. The water-related issues are also an educational and cultural problem. We needed to help people raise awareness of the seriousness of their behavior and choice. As Nelson Mandela said, education is the powerful weapon which you can use to change the world. An example are the local water forums, where a group of volunteers from a municipality meet with the members of the local council, local and regional health authorities, and the local water utility. They are responsible for the co-creation and implementation at the water-based health policy, where citizen volunteers become the overall non-technical supervisor of the resulting plan. This picks people who will be responsible for informing both the local community and the member of the other local water forum. We need to manage water resource in an integrated way, connecting the entire water chain and protecting water from contamination from a household at the global level. We must adopt the concept of multiple water for multiple purposes and users. We need to picture a future in which different alternative water sources and qualities, surface water, rainwater, recycled water, and other sources, will be available in our society and employed for various purposes by multiple users. In this way, the highest quality water could be used for drinking or food and beverage production, and the lower quality water for other purposes, industrial irrigation, and so on. We need to develop an holistic and coherent policy framework to protect and value public health via safe, secure, and accessible water. Regulation must not only prevent bad practice, but encourage good one. A risk-based approach must become the new standard. Digitalization and new technology can help transition to a water-smart society. At this conference, Water Europe is presenting its vision for this water-smart society. including the 3 objectives and the 5 innovation concepts you see illustrated. It's time to inspire and indicate the course of action for policymakers, researchers, technology developers, region, and citizens. We need to adopt an ecosystem approach that recognizes and ascribes value, including economic value, to the services natural ecosystem provides in terms of water filtration and purification, and ensure their sustainability through modern management. We are part of ecosystem inside and outside of us. Water health security cannot be achieved without protecting the natural ecosystem and biodiversity. Innovation and continuous experimentation are needed, sure, but in the meantime, we must implement existing technological solutions through ad hoc regulation and public and private investment. To treat water, both drinking and wastewater, we have numerous technological available solutions: primary mechanical treatment, secondary biological treatment, tertiary treatment, and so on. And above all, we can combine technology one each other. It is time to use it. Climate change is just exaggerating existing problem and is causing new one. We need to act now. I hope this conference will be the starting point. We are all in the same boat and we must row together in the same direction. This is why I invite you to collaborate to develop a sustainable future and a better tomorrow through our daily work. I want to thank you for your attention, and Andrea, the floor is yours and the other speaker. Thank you.
Many thanks, Christian. Many thanks for your inputs, your points. And thank you for highlighting the vision of Water Europe about the value of water and the need for secure, make resilient, water resilient and sustainable in the long run. As Paolo said before, we also host today speakers which are involved in projects, water-related projects funded by Horizon Europe. And I really would like to invite now Professor Luisa Torres. She is the head of department at the University of Coimbra, and she is also the technical coordinator of the H2For All projects, which Water Europe is also a partner, to take the floor. Luisa, please, you're welcome to.
Thank you. Thank you, Andrea. Can you see my screen?
Yes, not.
Yeah, okay.
Yes, now it's in presentation mode.
Presentation mode. So, good morning, everybody, and good afternoon, depending on the place in the world. As Andrea said, I'm representing the H2For All project that in global aims to develop innovative integrated tools and technologies to protect and treat drinking water from disinfection byproducts. And as you all may know, the disinfection products are really crucial because they allow us to have safe drinking water and avoid diseases. This is not true to all the planet, because we know there are countries that have not this kind of process so developed. But in fact, when we disinfect the water and considering that there is an increasing contamination of water sources, we need heavier loads of disinfection agents. So increasing the loads of these disinfection agents will lead us to disinfection byproducts, because these agents will react, mainly the most common disinfection process is chlorination. So chlorine will react with the natural organic matter and also with the organic matter that is not natural, that is also pollutants, for instance, pharmaceuticals. So DBPs can cause serious impact in human health and also in the environment, and they are not yet fully understood their effects. So we need to monitor them, we need to control their occurrence, and as they are at very low concentration and they have some physical chemical properties that are not very well suited to develop the analytical methods, we have some difficulties in tracking them. So we need, in fact, more regulatory values regarding DBPs, especially in the European Union. And these kind of pollutants need more studies at fundamental ground. So the solving of this problem of DBPs is far beyond the WASH, because they are in fact delivered by the process of hygiene of water. So new solutions are needed for disinfection and integrated actions of water protection. I mean, regarding quality of water, its reuse, zero leakage, good use of water by consumers. So H2For All overall goals are understanding and monitoring disinfection of these DBPs. So and they're spread also in the water distribution systems. And we want also to develop breakthrough water treatments to remove them or to avoid the contaminants that are their precursors. And we want to do this paying attention on the life cycle analysis of these technologies, as well as in their costs and risks. And in fact, if you look to a table of regulatory limits, you note that European Union is in fact one of the regions that has less regulatory limits regarding DBPs. And we applaud the latest limit that has come for alloacetic acids, that is this 60, that is here 60 micrograms per liter. It is now in force since 1 January 2023 in the recast of the water directive. And if we look to the part of the right part of the slide, the World Health Organization, we can see also that these DBPs, the specific compounds that are gathering families regarding legislation, they have several values and quite different values between themselves. So we are not sure if gathering these values in families is the best approach, is the approach that we have now at the European Union. And but we should also look to the limits that affect health regarding the specific compounds. So our team is a multidisciplinary team that gathers institutions from all over Europe, universities, non-governmental organizations, SMEs, a large company, Atlantium, and also a public company, Águas de Coimbra. And we go from the TRLs from 2 to 6. We aim to achieve 6 in some parts. So we have 18 partners from 10 countries, and the coordinator is University of Coimbra from Portugal. And with the money that we have, we want to raise significantly the knowledge on DBP's effects on drinking water quality, as well as to develop smart, advanced solutions for their monitoring, and also technologies for their control and treatment during the 36 months of the project and far beyond. So our pilot site is Águas de Coimbra. This is a drinking water supplier to about 85,000 clients in the region of Coimbra. It's hundreds and hundreds of pipelines of distribution, and we have this pilot site. So regarding the specific objectives of each work package, I gather here in my slides by colors. We have 12 specific objectives. Each color is one work package. You will see at the end how they rearrange between them. But this blue one, the first blue one, is one technical work package that aims to develop sensors in order to identify the DBPs at their very low limits and in real time in the distribution network. So we want also this with a smart placing of the sensitive devices in the network, because the network is too long, and we should assess the points that are more critical and to put the sensors in these places. So we want also in this work package to develop a central knowledge base with the real-time interactive maps of DVPs in Europe, at least in the countries that are involved in the project that are already allowed. And in another work package here in gray, we want a better understanding and assessment of DVP's formation and fate, and we will also measure their toxicity and have some risk assessment in the environment, and in order to establish some policy measures and share with other work packages that I will explain later. But we want also to cover conditions of extreme weather events like droughts and floods, and we will do this by putting some ranking on the pollutants, and also relying on indicators that will allow us to understand which DVPs are the most problematic and the more incident in the distribution system. So this work package in blue is related to the technologies of prevention and treatment of DVPs. And we start by having a task related to disinfection strategies that is relying on the prevention of DVPs formation. Instead of chlorination, we aim to use UV radiation that is not chemical based, so to use alone or intercalated with chlorination. And then we want also to develop remediation, advanced remediation technologies, either by advanced oxidation process or by adsorption, where we can use photocatalysis, also aerogels, zeolites, or biochar. And after the closing of this work package is to make a pilot scale unit by another company of the consortium, which is Advantech, that this pilot unit will integrate the technologies, the best technologies, in order to achieve a safe drinking water in the pilot unit. So it is important because we will test it with real waters also, and we will see the effect of our technologies. Very linked to this work package is another one, a shorter one, that is aiming the assessment of the impact of the technologies that I just described. So we are developing new technologies, but we want also to know how these will impact in the environment. And by LCA and LCC tools, we will follow this work package 5 will follow very closely the last one in the technology development. So the next work package in gray here, it's a work package more related to citizen awareness, because we think it's very important, the engagement of the public, either to know the impact on health of these DVPs, or in order to implement some preventive measures that the population can take, measures very easy to take at home. And we are looking to the behaviors of the public in household and also in the environment, from source to supply. So the behaviors of our population should also change in terms of how they look to water. They should look to water as a very precious asset. So they should look to water as they could look to other very important things in their lives, like the mobile phone or something like that. So, but it's not true. Most part of the people take water as granted, and it's not true in many countries, and we should protect it fully. So we want in this work package also to gather all the technical information that we have in the other work package, in order to draw prevention measures for safety planning, and also for advising European Union and give some recommendations on policies. So this picture gathers all together. In yellow, in yellow square, we have the technical work package, the one for sensing and analysis and monitoring, the other one for the impact and risk of the DVPs, the work package 4 for the technologies of prevention and remediation, and also the 5 work package for the following of the technology in terms of LCA and LCC. At the end, we want to build this lab pilot scale demonstrator, and also we want to test these sensing tools in our pilot site, Águas de Coimbra. So on the right side, we have the work package 6 more related to guidance and policy public engagement, and we have an advisory board. This advisory board is formed by two companies that treat wastewater, one in Portugal and one in Netherlands, another Institute of Ecology in Netherlands also, and the Ministry of Health of Israel. This advisory board is dynamic, and we want people to come in also in the advisory board, and we are full open if you are interested in taking part of this project. We are very happy to let you in. So we are also in the cluster, as Andrea said, Zero Pollution for Water. This cluster is formed by the projects, 7 projects that were funded in the zero pollution calls, either for groundwater or for drinking water. And we think that this is the strategy to not lose information and to make and create synergies that can get us to a higher level of knowledge and technology. And for my part, it is all. Thank you so much for inviting me and for your attention.
Many thanks, Luisa. Thanks a lot. After the insights given by the speakers in the first part of this event, now the time has come for an exchange, for the discussion, for building on what has been said so far, for adding, additional points and finding, a solution, to the question that we have at the beginning of the event. So how can we go beyond the WASH concepts? And we heard, about several urgent actions to be taken, but now is the time, to discuss, the time to get together and find common solutions, common ideas on what should be done in order to overcome the water crisis, which all the impact that we know. So now I would like to introduce Ms. Claudia Topalli. Claudia is a senior manager in regulatory and government affairs of IDEX. She is a member of the board of Water Europe. She represents also Water Europe in the EU expert group on drinking water. And Claudia, I welcome you to open the exchange session and to introduce the panelists that will take part to that. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Andrea, for giving me this opportunity. And I would like, first of all, to thank all the panelists and the participants for being here today with us in the day after the World Water Day, but also during the Water Week conference. So I know in New York, I know that there is quite a lot going on, quite a lot of events. And as Water Europe, we are also present with 5 events, and that makes an important commitment. Before I go and start with the participants, I would take the opportunity that this privileged role is giving me to spend a couple of words in the theme of our today's discussion. And the first one is the WASH. Andrea, you mentioned earlier on how we can go beyond the WASH, but of course, in such a global context, I cannot miss the opportunity to say that WASH is already an important part, and it's still a very high objective in many areas of the world. WASH standing for water, sanitation, and hygiene. It's so important, and unfortunately, moreover, in the situations where the conflict. So we have seen, surprisingly, a conflict very, very close to Europe. So in the European continent, and their WASH access to sanitation in a situation where there is armed conflict. Unfortunately, this is not making, let's say, that Sustainable Development Goal number 6 something achievable. The second part is also very much linked to the Beyond the WASH, and it is about how we as common citizens think about the fact that climate change and a number of other elements might be beyond our reach, so beyond our control. I think we are here all together to commit and to sustain this development goal in all its parts. And we can do so by also acting all together. In fact, this is linking me to the second main message that I would like to bring today here. And it is a very good one, because it was in 1977 that the UN dedicated a day to water. It was quite a long time. It's been many years, and we are today talking again about water at a UN context. And the exception is that this time there was the inclusion of the private sector as well in the discussion of the global conference. And I'm very proud to inform actually that yesterday the private sector presented a commitment, a global commitment that they joined forces. We joined forces as IDEX laboratories together with a number of other great companies such as, I cannot name them all, but Xylem, Veolia, Hydroloop, Hansgrohe, and many others, to invest over $11 billion in water innovation globally. The funds will be directed towards water-related research and development. And the idea is to bring innovative approaches in the water management and deployment of the new technologies. So I'm really very, very proud of that. And I invite you virtually to give an applause to all the committed partners. Apart from that, I will now start with introducing my very high-level speakers. I will say it once and for all, all our panelists are doctors. So I'll start with Eline Böhle, which is expert in water health linkages in Deltares. She's based in the Netherlands, and she has experience basically in Africa, Asia, and Europe. And she has been working in many, many research projects, and she can talk us a lot about water-related releases. Today, though, to make it link with our, let's say, going beyond the WASH, I will give her the opportunity to start with an opening statement and try to give us another vision on how this objective can be achieved. Please, Eline, the floor is yours.
Yeah. So thank you very much. Indeed, I'm taking a bit of a broader approach and thinking a systems approach. So if we want to go beyond WASH, how do we do that? Well, we take a DIPSI approach to start with. We look at the drivers, the pressures, the state, the exposure, and effects. So that means, let me reduce this one, that we look at the big driving forces, try to understand what happens, how climate change influences, how that leads, together with population growth, to increased emissions from cities, but also from industry, how that puts our existing infrastructure under pressure, and eventually leads to decreases in our water quantity, but also decreases in the water quality already mentioned. In turn, this leads to health impact by exposing people either via drinking or via bathing to pathogens or if water is not managed well, to vectors of disease. And all that may lead to diseases, overburdened health services. But if managed well, it could also increase our well-being. So now what do we do with that? We can take actions. We can take actions at the policy level, energy transition, for instance, taking again this broader water management perspective. We can also look at the water safety plans, sanitation safety plans, including climate resilience in it, look at disaster management plans. At a basin scale, something the wash sector is not often involved in, but definitely has an impact on what the wash sector does and can achieve, is of course the basin level management through IWRM or the use of nature-based solutions. As researchers, we can monitor, we can model, we can do early warning, and we can make alliances with the health sector to know how this whole chain of causes and effects eventually culminates in a positive or a negative health impact and how we deal with that. And I'll leave it at that for now. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Aline. I actually have a question, but I will take that. I'll hold that until when we'll give the chance to open the floor for the debate. So I will be very conscious. I will now give the floor to Ana Margarita Luís, a member of the board of Aguas de Portugal International and ATP Valor. So again, Ana Margarita is a doctor and she has more than 30 years experience in the water sector. She's been working in various roles, and she also works as a policy advisor committee of the Water Europe, and also cooperates with the World Bank within the Utilities for the Future framework. Ana Margarita, please, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Claudia. And I would like to focus on the role of risk management, and I follow, I'm really aligned with what Aline just shared with us. So in 2005, the Bond Charter stated that the water supply utilities should run their systems based on the risk management approach, and that's when the water safety plans came up to the scene. And so the water safety planning states that utilities should manage the risks from source to tap, or from the intake to tap. And so we should ask what may happen, how likely is it to happen, and how should we prevent it from happening? And then utilities could put in place some measures like reinforcement of the schemes of the water treatment plants, or reinforcing their online monitoring, or mixing different water sources, or reinforcing the sampling and control, or establishing routines for cleaning water tanks, disinfection of pipes after repairs, or taking care of the disinfection byproducts, as we just heard now, and so forth, so on, so forth. So this was a major change, and I would like to stress that. So the standard water quality control has become a means to check whether these actions were effective or not, instead of being the only end-of-line information about the water and the water quality. And so we moved from a reactive mode to a preventative mode, and that's really, really important. Now, I think we moved a step further with the Drinking Water Directive that came into force this year. This concept of risk management has been extended to the level of the basin, like we just heard right now. So risks should be managed not only from source to tap, but also from the river basin until the source. And this is incredibly relevant because the risks utilities have to manage in their systems are greatly influenced by the risks present in the raw water. So managing risks in the basin means that we have to pose the same question, but now in the basin. So what can happen or is already happening upstream, our intake, that may jeopardize the water quality in a specific area, so for water supply. So we have to see whether there are discharges happening from industrial or urban sectors, or runoff from agriculture, or taking care of being aware of the climate change effects for water scarcity, temperature increase, wildfires. This will all affect the water quality, and how can we prevent it? So I'm absolutely confident that this broader risk management framework will be of invaluable benefit, and I'd like to share that, but maybe afterwards, so I can leave some time. The floor now to the next panelist.
Thank you so much, and thank you so much also for keeping the time. I think we have been all very good on that, and therefore we will have, I think, the luxury of having a good discussion. I would like now to give the floor to Luc Rietveld, a professor of the Delft University since more than 30 years. And he's also an expert in the drinking water and urban water cycle technology since 2010. He also is the coordinator of the To Drink, that he will tell us more in the coming minutes. So, Luc, the floor is yours, please.
Thank you, Claudia. Yeah, I'm Luc Rietveld, as Claudia said. I'm the coordinator of the To Drink project. The To Drink project is about a toolkit for adaptable and resilient installations securing high quality drinking water. And we have as an objective to, next slide. Yeah, we have as an objective to support drinking water companies to always provide high quality drinking water by developing decision support tools for design and operation of drinking water supply. And these tools are for monitoring, for example, sensors, soft sensors, and also new technologies. All will be implemented and tested in 5 water facilities in Europe. And yeah, what our idea is that when it comes to the topic of today, it's managing risk in relation to water supply. We believe that on the one hand, investment in centralized water supply systems is important, and in principle, all at least urban people should be connected to a sort of centralized system. These systems also should be robust and also flexible to adapt to changing situations like climate change, population growth, and pollution. And we think that it is important that constant monitoring should be in place to early warn, as is already said, the operators, the technologists, but also to be able to rapidly intervene to maintain always the high quality that is needed. We think that it is important, that's also in the Water Directive, that it will improve the health situation, not only in Europe, but also beyond. And this high quality water is much less expensive than bottled water, and also has less impact on the environment. So if everyone is supplied with high quality drinking water, then it's good for the environment, but also for the consumer in terms of cost saving. That's from my side, Claudia. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Luc. I very much appreciate that, and also keeping the time. I have to announce we are waiting for another panelist, but he has been held, as I mentioned earlier. There are so many events going on right now in New York. He will join us shortly, I hope. Meanwhile, I would like to take the opportunity and open already the floor to the questions. And since I'm the moderator, I have the chance to ask the first question. So I would start already with you, Luc, if that is okay. And I would actually, first of all, congratulate on the To Drink project, which is fantastic. And I think in the going beyond the wash concept, how could that be a good example, or how can it be deployed in other areas of the world where this is considered a luxury?
Yeah, and that's what I said. Thank you for the question, Claudia. It is In fact, everywhere in the world, I think access to good drinking water is very important. Normally, we see it a little bit as a luxury in many countries, like in Africa. The city centers are supplied with centralized systems, and the people that live in the peri-urban areas, they don't have access to water. And the problem there is that the people that have the lowest incomes, they pay the highest price for the drinking. So if we invest, and that is, I think, a responsibility for all of us, invest in supplying better quality to people, that will also avoid these inequalities that are existing all over the world, where the richest people have the best access to high quality for the lowest price, and vice versa. So investing in this, investing in good operations, investing in decision support tools that people can use to better design their systems, I think should be at least something we can provide as academia and also as technology developers. But for policy, I think it is also important that we continue investing in this inequalities, let's say, worldwide.
I think it's it's very good, and I think it's good also to bring this as a message at the UN Water Conference. So thank you for that. I would ask a question as well to my colleague Ana Margarita, and tell her you spoke about the novelties that are happening at European level, especially the change that we are having from statical to a more pragmatic approach, and you spoke about risk management as well. So what do you think is going to be the major impacts in the good risk management of the water?
Well, I think the benefits and the impacts will be huge. And first, I will name some. And first of all, this broader scope of the risk management, going beyond the utilities system and moving also to the basin level. It means that we'll have together many different entities from different sectors and combine their actions towards a safer environment. This should be natural of happening, but in fact it doesn't happen naturally. But by doing so with this, because now we have a legislation that will urge us to do that, this will avoid redundant actions from being taken from different sectors and different entities, and also will fill the gaps of actions that are still missing. So I think that will be the first big benefit. Secondly, I think it also provides a common context for the implementation of a set of regulations that should not be applied in isolation. And we saw today in one of the early slides, the water policy and water-related policy, the number of frameworks and directives, for example, that we have in Europe. And so this will be the risk management, broader risk management approach will provide this common context to implement, for example, the Drinking Water Directive, the Urban Wastewater Treatment Directive, industrial emissions, and so on. Many examples. Of course, all of these under the overarching of the Water Framework Directive. And this really means breaking the silos. So putting together different sectors, different entities, and implementing the different set of regulations. This will really help to break the silos in which our environment is still being managed, unfortunately, in many places. So another benefit, and that I already referred to, is moving from a reactive to a preventative approach regarding the safeguard of the water quality. And moreover, by identifying and characterizing the risks, we get a better and shared knowledge about the system, and this will increase transparency. And there's also in these new and revised directives, this focus of reporting and information for the public. And I think this links directly with that report that we also saw today, that's called my attention, the quality unknown, the invisible water crisis. So I think this risk management approach will also help to cope with this invisible water crisis. So making water information more transparent for everyone. And finally, last but not least, once we understand the risks, we can identify and locate their root causes. And by knowing the root causes of the risks, we can direct our efforts towards them, the root causes. And this is far more efficient than taking downstream actions to cope with the consequences of the risks, both from a technical and from a financial point of view. So not only we move from a reactive to preventative approach, but also we move from an efficacy to an efficiency paradigm. So overall, and just to conclude, I think this broader and more integrated approach means that we can still continue to ensure safe drinking water, but while avoiding weighting the tariffs with unnecessary costs, thus making water more affordable and accessible to all.
Thank you so much. Thank you. And especially also because you actually gave me the opportunity to link your discussion to what Eline was just presenting earlier. So you mentioned silos and she was talking about systemic approach. And I would like to hear from Eline as well on how the systemic approach that it is proposed and in the work that you have done in Deltares can support the policy work in order to actually achieve what Anna just said. So basically this moving from the silos.
No less. It's a big question, and but I think this idea of looking at the whole causal chain from causes to effects will help. And if you understand better the policy the impacts of climate change on human health, you can also add a health dimension into your climate mitigation plans, including, like what was just commented in the chat, if you make the transition to other sources of energy, they have their own pressures on the environment. So you need a broader scope. You need to look at emissions. And as Panikiotis also showed in his presentations, there's all these EU directives that do look at water quantity and water quality. They look at exposure, the Bathing Water Directive, the Drinking Water Directive, and even they look back at once you have the health effects, how does that again influence your emissions, like in the Pharmaceuticals Directive, etc. So using this systems approach, you can also see the interconnectedness, not only of the various causes and effects, but also in each, the impacts for, the implications for policy. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much. And thank you also for picking up to that very interesting question in the chat, on which before I welcome the next speaker, I would also like to jump in and say that it is great. It goes from silos to systemic, and also reacting to the chat as well. We can not only talk about the extraction of materials and the use of materials. So I definitely would like to invite everyone to see a little bit also the other proposals of the Commission, where they're talking about life cycle impact assessment, where we look to what is happening from a life cycle analysis. So from a product is coming, the water that is needed, but also all the other impacts that make a relevant, let's say, impact globally from an environmental perspective, where water, it is a very, very important part. With that, I will, for the moment, hold on with the questions. I mean, on the chat, you can continue. Please keep on presenting yourself as well, because those are going to be registered so that we can have also the opportunity to contact you back once you have asked the question. And I would now like to invite to present you actually Luca Lucentini, which is, as I mentioned earlier, all my panelists are doctors, and he's also the director of the Water Quality and Health Department from the Italian Istituto Superiore di Sanità. And this is only one of his many hats. He's also works and is an expert for WHO, the European Commission. He's been writing a number of peer-reviewed scientific publications and is responsible for international cooperation programs. Luca is joining a little bit late because, as I mentioned, he's in New York and working on this very important topic as well. So Luca, please, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much, Claudia. I hope you can hear well. I hope the network is functioning. And I'm a little bit anxious because of your presentation, but my contribution here is quite simple. I want just to share some flash about our position and vision about the very interesting topics you are discussing here. And thanks for doing this. And okay, I'm going to share some slide. Okay, and so the story is that going beyond the WASH approach, that is really an intriguing and necessary problem. I think you already mentioned the challenges we are having, and these were the last date, but the latest date of this day is in Italy are really more serious than how was previously. So I want to stress that the implications of climate change on health were approached by Italy through the climate and health country profile in 2017, and obviously some trends that are now dramatically under verification were foreseen. And on the other hand, we see that the jump to the future can be also confirmed by past evidence. In this example, we are seeing a very strong evidence of how drought caused some attack in of a population that was not so enemy in the past for Roman emperor. Now the situation is obviously changed, but maybe some lesson should be well present in our mind. And so how can we approach? The idea is that we had a good example in One Health approach, in which we should encompass all the sectors and all the disciplines that are important to protect health. In the same way, or if you allow me, more than this, we have to do for water, in which governance, surveillance, and the human interfering is more and more fragmented. So the lack of one vision is one of the problem. And doing this, the health sector could be a driver of this concept, because by respecting all the capacities, responsibility, and attribution of the sector, in particular today we can approach the new technologies. Health could be really a connector for many sectors. And in the past, once again, it was well understood, this concept. As an example, the history of our institute, that is just an health institute, National Institute for Health, but in the past, the role of the water and sanitation was so important that our past colleagues replaced the engineers in the designing aqueducts, because it was a fundamental way for public enemy. The same is now. Nothing is changed, but the challenge is presenting more risks. So what we are promoting also here in New York is a partnership that is extended to all the water in the natural environment to reuse to wastewater treatment, including the wastewater surveillance, by also pursuing a regulatory simplification, but also approaching the problem of the sea. So in creating and designing resiliency measures. We have lots of good examples for this, but we have no time to approach this. My last contribution is just that to follow after FAST, the single contamination is really a challenge for research, but is not so useful for protection of health. Now, the change of vision is to put research into legislation. This is completely new, and in doing this, your sector of research have a fundamental role, because as in case of microplastic and FAST, that are the most emerging contaminants, we can see that many aspects are common for these components. We created these molecules, and we forgot to regulate the disposal of these. So we are now approaching a lot of problems, and the surveillance on this is just a part. I want to conclude that the objective of Italy is to approach the protocol on water and health, and in doing this, the stakeholders like your association and the many industries and technology research are and will play a fundamental role. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Luca. Thank you so much for joining us. And also thank you very much for that very interesting image, which it is the dance between research and policy. I very much like that, because that is going to link to one question in the chat, which says what we think about the wastewater treatment plants. How can they be looked as water factories? Well, if the dance is going to start among policymakers and then say the research and the industry as well, which is a big contributor to the research, maybe we can take that approach that Anna Margarita was talking about earlier on, saying in prevention. And it's exactly what you said, Luca. So we have to think about issues before they are there in the environment, or how we're going to deal with them. Especially in the wastewater treatment, we have some work in, we need to pimp a little bit the Commission proposals to make sure that it's including the prevention part, where public health parameters are included also for those parameters which have been there. I don't want to be specific, but Anna Margarita is going to love me for mentioning E. coli, enterococci, and so on. So with that, unless there is any burning question, and I have to admit, I've been a very, very bad time manager today, but I really wanted Luca to join, and I very much wanted to give the opportunity to this great floor to present their views. So with that, I would thank you and hand over to Andrea for his conclusion statements. Thank you so much. Andrea, the floor is yours, and apologize for being late in my time management.
Thank you so much, Claudia. I think that discussion was so much interesting that we didn't think about the time. The time was running away. But, well, I mean, I think today we really went through, I mean, a lot of important points, I mean, crucial, essential points. I mean, still in my head, I mean, I can remember that several times we mentioned the matter that we must be preventive rather than reactive. So this is, I mean, a very important concept. It's important. It's extremely important because, I mean, whether we see that when we look at the water crisis and the climate crisis, I mean, the future is now. It's not, I mean, tomorrow. It's really now. The future is now means that we have to solve the problems now, and we have to break the silos. And this is another extremely important concept that came out during the discussion. Breaking the silos means to really to put together all the relevant actors around the same table and find, I mean, the necessary agreement in order to manage together this extremely scarce now resource that is water, and precious resource. Because on water, I mean, I still remember, I mean, years ago, the point that 3 jobs out of 4 depends on on water availability, and that's more than 90% of the global economy of this planet depends on water availability. So it means that the stability of our society, it depends on water. It depends on the quality, the quantity of water. It depends on the matter that we will be able to make water resilient, able to make water secure, and able to make water sustainable in the long run. And once again, I mean, saying that the future is now, and thinking about the matter that we need to pass from silos to systemic approach, and this is something that Water Europe is advocating for with the program at the Water-Oriented Living Labs, in which really we want to create all the necessary conditions at territorial level in order that all actors and stakeholders are on board of a decision-making process in order to make water really sustainable in the long run. What to say more? Thank you. Thank you for giving your insights. I think that we had really a lot of ideas being discussed today, and I think that will be really a lot of food for mind, for our brains, I mean, to develop new solutions and new approaches for addressing the water crisis. Once again, I think that the future is now. We are responsible to pass them into the next generations a sustainable planet, and the world is at the core value of our society and our lives. So once again, thank you so much on behalf of Water Europe. Thank you so much, I mean, to the United Nations for offering this opportunity to organize this event. Thank you to all the speakers and the audience. Thank you so much, and all the best for the future, which is now. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.